Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Luna Base, watching the final preparations of humanity's greatest achievement. The HSS Phoenix hung in space like a silver arrow, its quantum-forged hull gleaming under Earth's reflected light. At 3 kilometers long, it was the largest vessel ever built by human hands, but size wasn't what made it special. "Final systems check complete, Admiral," reported Captain James Rodriguez through the comm. "She's ready." Sarah didn't respond immediately, her mind drifting to the events that had led to this moment. 6 months ago, a routine deep space probe had discovered something impossible, a cloaked observation post at the edge of the solar system. The technology was far beyond anything humanity possessed, but its purpose was clear. Earth was being watched. The subsequent investigation revealed more posts, some centuries old. Humanity hadn't been alone. They'd been studied like lab rats. The discovery sparked the greatest unified effort in human history. Every nation, every resource, every brilliant mind focused on one goal: showing the watchers that humanity wouldn't be contained. Remember when they said building something this advanced would take decades? Sarah finally responded, allowing herself a small smile. "We did it in 8 months." The Phoenix represented everything humanity had learned from studying the alien observation posts. Quantum shields derived from their cloaking technology, gravity drives reverse-engineered from their propulsion systems, but most importantly, innovations the aliens had never conceived of. Technologies born from humanity's unique way of thinking. Status report from the diplomatic corps, her AI assistant Araya announced. "The Confederation's monitoring stations have detected our preparations. They're increasing surveillance but haven't attempted contact." Sarah's expression hardened. Through decoded transmissions, they'd learned about the Galactic Confederation, a coalition of advanced species that claimed to guide younger civilizations. In reality, they decided which races were worthy of joining galactic society. Humanity had been judged too unpredictable, too aggressive. Rather than invite Earth to join them, they chose to watch and wait, hoping humans would either destroy themselves or become docile enough to control. "They still think we're primitive," Captain Rodriguez said, disgust evident in his voice. "That we couldn't possibly understand their technology. That's their weakness," Sarah replied. They'd grown complacent. They see advancement as a straight line, never imagining someone might take a different path. The Phoenix was proof of that different path. Where the Confederation built technology through careful iteration, humanity had made intuitive leaps. Where they sought perfect control, humans embraced controlled chaos. The result was a ship that broke every rule they thought unbreakable. "All departments report ready," Araya announced, awaiting final authorization. Sarah took a deep breath. This mission would change everything. The Phoenix would travel to the heart of Confederation space, not to start a war, but to demand recognition, to show that humanity wouldn't be judged from afar or controlled from the shadows. "Send the final message to Earth Command," she ordered. "Phoenix mission is go. And send one more transmission, directed at the observation posts." "Message ready," Araya confirmed. "Tell them, we see you. We understand your technology. And we're coming to talk. Your choice, whether it's as equals or not." As Sarah watched the Phoenix power up its drives, she felt a mix of pride and determination. The Confederation thought they were watching humanity's development. Instead, they'd given humans the tools for their own obsolescence. The massive ship's quantum drives flared to life, creating a ripple in space-time itself. As it accelerated away from Earth, Sarah knew the message would be clear. Humanity was done being observed. They were ready to take their place among the stars, whether the Confederation approved or not. The age of silence was over. The time for humanity to show its true potential had begun. The Confederation's capital station, Haven's Ring, was considered the pinnacle of alien engineering, a perfect circle of crystalline structures and graceful towers spanning 50 kilometers. To First Speaker Verana, it had always represented order and stability. Now, watching the human vessel approach on the primary display, It felt more like a fragile glass sculpture. Impossible readings, muttered Chief Scientist Clarax, his auxiliary eyes twitching as he studied the data streams. Their ship is generating quantum fields we theorized but never achieved. Technology they shouldn't have for another century at least. Varana's facial membranes pulsed with concern. The human vessel, Phoenix, they called it, had appeared at the edge of Confederation space 3 days ago. Instead of attacking, they'd simply waited, broadcasting their intention to open diplomatic relations on all frequencies. It was civilized, measured, and completely terrifying. "They've discovered more than just our observation posts," she said. "Show me the analysis of their hull composition again." The display shifted, showing microscopic scans of the Phoenix's outer layer. The material was familiar. An advanced quantum-stabilized alloy the Confederation used in their most sensitive research stations. But the humans had altered it, improved it in ways their scientists were still struggling to understand. "First speaker," her assistant interrupted. "They're transmitting again." The human admiral's image appeared on the main screen. Sarah Chen, they'd learned, commander of humanity's first deep space vessel. Her expression remained neutral, but there was an edge of steel in her voice. "Your time for deliberation is over," she stated. "We've waited patiently for 3 days. Either grant us landing clearance for diplomatic talks, or we'll consider your silence a hostile act." Varana felt the weight of centuries of tradition pressing against the necessity of action. The Confederation had contained dozens of emerging species, guiding their development through careful manipulation. But none had ever broken free like this, turning their own technology against them. "You must understand our position," Varana replied carefully. "Your advancement is unprecedented." "The protocols for—" "The protocols," Admiral Chen interrupted, "were designed to keep emerging species dependent on the Confederation. We've decoded enough of your data to know that. But humanity isn't asking for guidance. We're offering cooperation." A subtle shift in the Phoenix's energy readings made Clarax gasp. "First speaker, they're powering weapons we've never seen before. But they're not targeting us. They're creating some kind of defensive grid around their ship." Varana understood the message. The humans could have appeared with weapons charge, but instead they'd chosen to demonstrate defensive capabilities first. It was a calculated show of strength and restraint. "Very well," Varana decided. "Landing Bay 7 will be cleared for your diplomatic shuttle. But be warned, any hostile action will be met with the full force of the Confederation fleet." Admiral Chen actually smiled. "If we wanted hostility, first speaker, we wouldn't have announced our arrival. Sometimes the best way to prevent a fight is to show you're ready for one." As arrangements were made for the human delegation's arrival, Varana pulled up classified files on Earth's development. The observation posts had documented their rapid technological growth, their constant innovation, their drive to push boundaries. The reports had labeled these traits as dangerous, recommending continued isolation. Looking at the Phoenix's impossible existence, Varana wondered if they'd made a terrible mistake. They'd watched humanity evolve, thinking themselves the observers in a grand experiment. Instead, they'd become part of humanity's own test, one that would reshape the galaxy's balance of power forever. "Prepare the council chamber," she ordered, "and send word to all member species. They need to witness what happens when our perfect system meets an impossible variable." The Phoenix's diplomatic shuttle launched, a smaller vessel that still displayed technology beyond Confederation understanding. As it approached Haven's ring, Varana couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The question was whether the Confederation would adapt or shatter in the face of humanity's unconventional evolution. The age of comfortable superiority was over. The time for equal dialogue, willing or not, had begun. Dr. Maya Patel felt her breath catch as she studied the encrypted files. What had started as a routine data exchange during the diplomatic talks had led her team to something far darker. The Phoenix's quantum computers had broken through security protocols the Confederation thought unbreakable, revealing layer upon layer of carefully hidden information. "Admiral Chen needs to see this immediately," she whispered, her hands trembling as she compiled the evidence. The holographic display around her showed hundreds of star systems, each marked with a pulsing red indicator. Not observation posts like they'd found in Seoul. These were containment zones. Within minutes, she stood before Admiral Chen and the ship's senior staff in the Phoenix's secure briefing room. The Confederation's secret map filled the room's center. "We're not unique," Maya explained, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. "The Confederation has been containing species for millennia. The Rixians, marked as too innovative. The Kellari, labeled excessively curious. The Mrath, quarantined for dangerous philosophical ideas." Admiral Chen's expression darkened as she studied the nearest marker. "How many?" 47 active containment zones. But that's not the worst part. Maya brought up another data set. They're not just watching these species. They're actively suppressing them. Engineered plagues to slow population growth. Artificial natural disasters to destroy promising research centers. Manufactured conflicts between nations to prevent unified development. Captain Rodriguez swore softly. "We thought finding their observation posts in our system was bad. This is genocide in slow motion." "And it gets worse," Maya continued. "Some species figured it out, tried to break free. The Confederation didn't just stop them. They made examples of them. The Korath civilization discovered their watchers 3 centuries ago. Within a year, their star mysteriously went nova. The official record calls it a natural disaster." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's breakthrough hadn't just been escaping observation. They'd survived learning the truth. "They're terrified of change," Admiral Chen said finally. "Any species that develops differently from their approved pattern gets eliminated or enslaved. That's why our advancements scared them so much. We don't think like them." The ship's AI, spoke up. New data analysis complete. Cross-referencing star charts with Confederation fleet movements. 3 containment zones are due for an adjustment within the next month. The Confederation calls them preventative measures. Admiral Chen stood, her decision visible in her stance. "Maya, how many of these species are close to breaking their containment like we did?" "At least 12 have the potential. They just need a push," Chen finished. "And we're going to give it to them." She turned to Captain Rodriguez. "Plot a course to the nearest containment zone. Priority on any system scheduled for Confederation adjustment." "Admiral," Maya cautioned, "if we do this, if we start freeing other species, the Confederation won't be able to ignore it like they're trying to ignore us. This could mean war." "No," Chen replied, a grim smile forming. "This is preventing a war. The Confederation maintains power by keeping species isolated, unable to share knowledge or help each other. But humanity learned something they never expected. The best way to advance isn't through control, it's through cooperation." She brought up the Phoenix's specifications. Everything that makes this ship special came from combining ideas in new ways. Quantum theory merged with classical physics. Computer science blended with biology. We took their technology and improved it because we think differently. Imagine what could happen if all these contained species started sharing ideas, working together. Maya understood. We wouldn't just be freeing them. We'd be creating allies. Exactly. The Confederation maintains power through division. We'll break that power through unity. Chen looked at the map of containment zones, each one representing billions of suppressed souls. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we're implementing Protocol Prometheus." "The Firebringer," Maya whispered, remembering the ancient myth. "Giving knowledge to those denied it." "Knowledge, freedom, and choice," Chen corrected. "Everything the Confederation fears." She turned to her crew, her voice firm with purpose. "They thought containing us would keep us weak. Instead, it taught us how to break chains. Now we're going to share that lesson with the galaxy." As the Phoenix prepared to jump to its first liberation target, Maya felt a mix of fear and hope. They were about to shatter the careful order the Confederation had maintained for millennia. But sometimes, she realized, breaking something wrong was the first step to building something right. The age of containment was ending. The era of liberation was about to begin. The Phoenix's bridge was silent except for the soft hum of quantum engines as Admiral Chen watched the Rixian ships approach. Gray-blue crystalline vessels that seemed to flow through space rather than cut through it, proof that suppressed species didn't just copy their liberators. They innovated. Rixian fleet in formation, Captain Rodriguez reported. Their quantum shielding is fully integrated with ours. The Confederation won't be able to track them now. 3 months had passed since humanity began Operation Prometheus. The Rixians were the 4th species they'd freed, and each liberation had taught them something new. But more importantly, each freed species had taught them something. Admiral, Araya announced, priority transmission from the Kellari research team. Dr. Maya Patel's hologram appeared, her expression tense with discovery. Sarah, we found it. The real reason for the containment protocol. It's not what anyone thought. Chen felt her spine stiffen. The Kellari, freed 2 months ago, had proven to be brilliant data analysts. Their natural ability to see patterns, combined with human intuition and creativity, had let them dig deeper into the Confederation's oldest records than anyone had managed before. Show me, Chen ordered. The bridge's main display filled with ancient star charts and data streams. Maya's voice shook slightly as she explained. The Confederation isn't the original power in the galaxy. They're the survivors of something much older. Something they're terrified will happen again. The display showed a civilization that made the current Confederation look primitive. Vast Dyson spheres, engineered stars, technology that bordered on magic. They called themselves the predecessors, Maya continued. They achieved what the Confederation fears most, true technological singularity. And it destroyed them. The containment protocols. Chen breathed, understanding dawning. They're not about control. They're about prevention. Exactly. The predecessors developed AI, genetic engineering, quantum manipulation, all advancing exponentially. But they couldn't control it. Their own creations turned on them, sparked wars that shattered entire galaxies. The few who survived became the first Confederation, dedicated to preventing any species from reaching that level of advancement. Rodriguez cursed softly. They're not being malicious. They genuinely think they're saving the galaxy. But they're wrong, Chen said firmly. Look at what we've achieved in just 3 months. The Rixians' crystal tech, the Kellari's data systems, the Mrath's bioengineering. We're advancing faster than ever, but we're doing it together, checking each other's work, combining different perspectives. Admiral, ARIA interrupted, detecting multiple quantum signatures. Confederation fleet incoming. Largest concentration recorded since operations began. The tactical display lit up with hundreds of enemy ships. The Confederation had finally decided to stop their liberation campaign, by any means necessary. They think this proves their point, Chen said quietly. That advanced species will always turn to violence. She straightened in her command chair. Let's prove them wrong. Signal the Rixian fleet. Tell them to hold position, but do not power weapons. Admiral, Rodriguez questioned. The Confederation fears uncontrolled advancement because they faced it alone. But we're not alone. None of us are. Not anymore. She opened a channel to all ships, Confederation and Allied alike. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human-led Coalition. To the Confederation fleet, we've discovered the truth about the predecessors. The enemy fleet's advance slowed. She continued, we understand your fear. We've seen the records of what uncontrolled advancement did to them. But look at us, humans, Rixians, Kellari, Mrath, and more. Different species, different perspectives, all advancing together, supporting each other, checking each other. You cannot control progress, came the response from the Confederation flagship. No, Chen agreed. But we can guide it together. Your ancestors survived the predecessor's fall because they helped each other. Then they forgot that lesson, choosing control over cooperation. We're offering a chance to remember it. The tactical display shifted as more quantum signatures appeared. Ships from every species they'd freed, arriving to support their allies. Not to fight, but to stand together. The predecessors fell because they tried to master the galaxy alone, Chen declared. We'll survive because we choose to face the future together. You can join us in building something new, or you can fire on hundreds of ships that refuse to shoot back. Choose carefully. The silence that followed felt eternal. Then, slowly, the Confederation weapons powered down. The age of fear was ending. The time for collective growth was about to begin. 1 year after the Confederation fleet stood down, Haven's ring had transformed. Where once crystalline spires stood in perfect isolation, now structures of diverse designs merged together. Human quantum architecture flowing into Rixian crystal formations. Kelari data hubs interfacing with Mrath biological computers. The station had become a physical representation of what many now called the Great Synthesis. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's representative to the newly formed Galactic Council, stood in the chamber that had once housed the Confederation's leadership. Beside her, beings from 24 species, both formerly contained and former Confederation members, worked together at a challenge that would have been impossible a year ago. The simulation is ready, announced Sixtel, a Rixian scientist whose crystal-based computing had revolutionized quantum modeling. We can now predict technological advancement patterns across multiple species simultaneously. Dr. Maya Patel nodded, gesturing at the holographic display filling the chamber center. The predecessors failed because they couldn't control their advancement. The Confederation failed because they tried to stop advancement entirely. But together, we found a third path. The display showed civilization growth patterns, hundreds of lines interweaving and strengthening each other. Where single lines showed dangerous spikes and collapses, the combined pattern demonstrated stable, sustainable progress. Remarkable, said first speaker Varana, one of the few Confederation leaders who had embraced the new order. Each species' natural tendencies balanced the others. Human creativity tempered by Kelari caution. Rixian precision enhanced by Mrath intuition. The real breakthrough, Chen added, was realizing we didn't need to fear advancement. We needed to fear isolation. Every disaster in our combined history came from species trying to face challenges alone. Aria's hologram appeared, now merged with aspects of every participating species' AI technology. New breakthrough in cancer treatment, combining human genetic research with Mrath bioengineering. Recommended distribution to all member worlds. This was how it worked now. Every advancement was shared, examined from multiple perspectives, improved through diverse viewpoints, and then distributed to help everyone. The old Confederation's fear of rapid technological growth had been replaced by carefully managed progress. There's something poetic about this, Maya said, studying the latest data. The Confederation spent millennia trying to prevent species from reaching the predecessor's level of advancement. Now we're all advancing past it together, but safely. Because we're not just sharing technology, Chen replied. We're sharing wisdom, experience, different ways of seeing the universe. She turned to the assembled representatives. Every species brings something unique to our coalition. Together, we're not just stronger, we're better. The chamber's atmosphere shifted as a priority alert came through. A new civilization had achieved faster than light travel at the galaxy's edge. Under the old system, they would have been contained, their progress halted. Send the Phoenix, Chen decided. Not to watch, not to contain, but to invite. Let's show them what cooperation can achieve. As preparations began for first contact, Chen reflected on how far they'd come. The human-led coalition had become something greater than any single species could have achieved. They'd proven that the best defense against technology's dangers wasn't restriction, but collaboration. The Phoenix, now crewed by members of multiple species, prepared for its mission. It was no longer just a warship, but a symbol of how strength could be used to unite rather than divide. Its quantum drives, enhanced by a year of collaborative innovation, powered up with barely a whisper. Message from Earth Command, Araya announced. They're asking for a status update on the Coalition's progress. Chen smiled, looking at the chamber filled with beings who had once been enemies or strangers, now working together to solve the galaxy's greatest challenges. Tell them humanity did what it does best. We didn't just break the chains, we built something better from them. As the Phoenix departed on its mission of peaceful contact, the former Confederation observation post near Earth continued its vigil. But now it transmitted a different message to any emerging civilizations that might detect it. You are not alone. You will not be contained. You will be welcomed. Together, we are building a future greater than any of us could imagine alone. The age of division was over. The era of unified progress had truly begun.